Hello and welcome to the Fear Free Human Show. I am Zen Cryer DeBrook and I am excited to be here and supporting you. This is a coaching show where you are able to get on and get coaching if you are a member of the Fear Free Human Collective. It is a subscription model, which is for coaching around the internal guidance system, which is something that I have decoded and have taught for over, 28 years now. And I want to just give you a couple little tips about using your internal guidance system before we get started with the coaching today. One is that this is not intuition. A lot of people think that when I talk about internal guidance system, they immediately say, "Oh yeah, it's just intuition," but it's not. It's not your intuition. It shows up as a lump in the throat, a tightness in the chest, or a sick feeling in the solar plexus area. And it has two modalities. One is it's paying attention to all of the thoughts that you have and giving you guidance on whether or not those thoughts are carrying you forward towards your ultimate life, the blueprint that you came here to achieve when you were born, or if it's carrying you away from your ultimate life and what you were here to achieve. It really is an incredible mindset tool, because if you are in a mindset that's going to create disharmony and a problem for you in your life, it causes this tight sensation. And then the other thing is that intuition is different in every person. So even if you're an empath and you intuitively or pick up on other people's emotions and experiences, different empaths pick things up in different ways. One empath, which literally it's actually feeling other things, one empath may be picking up the global collective. They might feel like the pressure of something big happening in the world. Another person may feel physically inside the body the exact same way another person is feeling. And another person can just enter the room and notice what the energy of the room is and the emotions that are happening in the room and pick them up and feel them. All three different modalities, where the internal guidance system works exactly the same way in every single person. So we're going to dive in and get to coaching here. But if you're interested in finding out how to discover and use your internal guidance system, how to go ahead and work with this tool that you were born with to have an incredible life, to clear out all kinds of trauma, limiting beliefs, and to be able to really leapfrog, quantum leap your life into a new domain, then my request is to go to BeFearFreeNow.com. It's BeFearFreeNow.com, and you can pick one of our membership subscriptions as well as a free subscription, which will give you a 4-day trial of a program that'll get you started using your internal guidance system. All right, we're going to dive in today. I see we've got Sky here. We're going to bring her on. There she is. Hey, Sky, how's it going?
Okay, how are you?
Good, good. What can we do for you today?
Thanks for making the noon Eastern or 12 Pacific or whatever, 9 Pacific time coaching time on a weekday. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Before I start, I have a technical question that I asked and I haven't received a response regarding the
This
Zoom
isn't
calls.
really the place to do that. Can
Oh,
we go
okay.
ahead and keep it focused on the coaching, and you can go reach me through email on that?
Sure. Sounds
Great.
good. Okay. So when I'm discussing things with my partner, I think I'm sensing that he's closed, and I need to know how to manage that, I guess, how to work around that.
So the thing is that you got to look at what he's saying, because if he's closed, if he actually is closed, which you, as you get more and more in training and using your internal guidance system, what you are going to find is that you'll feel other people's closings and openings. We all can feel each other's. We've been doing it our whole lives. It's just you weren't tuned into it. So as you get more tuned into it, you'll feel that. And then really look at what he's saying, because it's not true, but he believes it. Just like you, when you first started, it's really hard in the beginning. One of the hardest parts is to question that your mind could be wrong, because it seems so true, right? What you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So then look at what he's saying and then have conversations. You can ask him opening questions. So if you can give me an example about something that he was closed off about, then I could support you better in being able to show you how to do that. It's way more difficult for me unless you give me a specific.
So when it comes to the properties and the renovations, sometimes I'll start a sentence and he doesn't even know what I'm about to say and he'll shut it down. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised, and I don't know why he's triggered. I think he's triggered.
Well, we're all
And
triggered about different things. I mean, so the thing is I think that's the other thing you learn when you start using your IGS is to have grace for other people and not judge them, because we all are coming from our programming from our childhood. It's a completely normal thing. And we're all working together, as best we can. There's been, I imagine, a lot of tension. You've had a lot of fear, a lot of stress, a lot of upset about the way the properties have been going and the renovations and the things on that. So I'm sure it has not, you've had many unpleasant conversations between the two of you that were hard and difficult. So why wouldn't he expect it to continue that way? He doesn't know that you've changed. He doesn't know that you're coming from the opening. He doesn't know that you're working from a different way of being. So of course he's going to be, alert to attack, alert to disappointment. Men have a real heightened level of awareness about women when they're displeased with them. Okay. And they protect themselves from it because it hurts. I don't think most people do not realize how sensitive men are and how much they hurt. We had a gentleman who was on a call about a month and a half ago, 2 months, I think. And he was talking about how his wife attacked him and his daughter one morning. And he literally got in the car and drove to a parking lot and cried because it hurt so bad, the way that they attacked him about something. But he didn't show them that. So we think we can just brutalize men or snap at them and it doesn't affect them. Now, I'm not saying that you've done that, but what happens is over time of having their feelings hurt and there's no place whatsoever to put that energy or that even explain themselves or work on it, they then put up walls. And so the key here is to, number one, realize that you both participated in it. You've got hurt as well at ways that he hasn't shown up and things that he said or done, or as you're here right now in this call, you're hurt and upset because he's triggered so quickly that you can't, now your communication together is breaking down over this properties that you guys have been in, right? And it's time to rebuild it and to understand that both of you have gone through something really tough. One of the hardest things in the world is going through a remodel together with people, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. There's actually like literally videos on how to get couples to get through the remodel on YouTube in a way that's going to save the marriage. Okay. So it's a big,
I need to watch them.
Right? It's a real thing. And so the key here is to step back and realize that you need to rebuild the bridge together and have this conversation. We've been through a lot together with these silly things, this dang, properties. I know how hard you've worked, and it's been really hard, and I've had a lot of fear, and I am not trying to attack you, and I understand why you're triggered. And can we start over? Can we have a do-over? Just like a little kid on the playground, you go to do a big hop or a big jump, and everybody can see that you flubbed it, and everybody goes, do it over, gives you a second try. Well, now it's time for a lot of do-overs, right? So that you guys can learn how to communicate in a loving way, because it's more important for you guys to figure out your relationship than the houses. Right. And so just ask him, like, when I haven't even said anything. What's the first thing that comes up for you? Tell me the truth. It won't hurt my feelings. And he's like, well, and listen, don't get defensive, because defensiveness is closing. Always. So as you start to want to defend yourself or whatever, stop and check and be like, okay, is he right? Did I do that? If you open, he's right. You did that. Own it and be like, I don't want to do that to you anymore. I'm working on it. I'm doing it differently. Can you give me a chance to see it differently? To see that I'm trying to do it differently, right? Or I didn't know that. So it's the thing about the internal guidance system that's so powerful is you can come from the opening. And it really takes time. This is the relationship part is a shift. It takes time dropping in, feeling the closing, looking at what you're thinking in the moment about what he's saying or doing, and reconfiguring your mind. I'm closed. That means what he's saying is not true. Or what I'm closed, that means what I'm thinking is not true, I meant to say, and not going to happen. What is it that I'm thinking? I'm thinking he's a big fat jerk who doesn't understand me and he's blaming me for everything. And I'm closed. Okay, he's not a big fat jerk who's blaming me for everything. What is he doing? And you have to play with your thinking until you get to the opening. And then once you're in the opening and you really know what's going on, that's when the solutions come. That's when you can de-trigger each other and heal these things. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Even if our triggers are not about each other, they're coming from our history, they're still important to be respected because they're real until we dismantle them. We don't have to give them a bunch of credit, like make them the holy grail of, oh, I'm going to, change my whole life around your triggers. But we have to be really respectful of the fact that We come by them honestly, and almost all of them are from pain. They're most always from pain and our protective nature against pain.
I get so tired of trying to have conversation with them that that's when I consider breaking up. It's like,
Yeah.
it just, I don't know if this will change.
Well, check your IGS. It will tell you. Does it open you that it cannot change? When you think this cannot change, are you open? First one.
Um, I think it was open. I have trouble sometimes discerning the
Well, it's either
feeling.
open, closed, or neutral. It's very simple. Do you feel an anxiety, nothing, or a slight release? When you hold the thought, he will never change in this area. I would say neutral.
Uh,
If you're not feeling
okay.
anything, it's neutral. So that means that there's no assessment, that we're not asking the right question, right? So then, not that I'm asking a question, but it's like, so the next thing to hold the thought of is when you're thinking, when you picture a time recently where you're thinking of breaking up with him. Can you go back to a situation, a moment? I know I can't
Yeah.
with my husband. Because it's always a lie. It's my first go. My stress defense is to take my toys and go home and not let you play with my toys. And so it's a false stress defense that has never worked for me and it's never will. And I don't play that game anymore. But it doesn't mean that the knee-jerk reaction still doesn't come up for a moment. So remember back to where you're thinking, okay, that's it. I'm sick of this. I'm going to break up. This isn't going to work. Can you
Hmm.
remember that? Are you open right now or
Yes.
closed?
Oh, I'd say it mostly felt closed. And
Mm-hmm.
to my amazement, we were actually discussing breaking up and selling the properties. And then he was on his way to Toronto. And so an hour later, he said, "All right, give me a hug." I might,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going, and you never know, I might never make it back. So, um, once he gave me that hug, I felt such an opening,
Yeah,
and
that is a very important thing for a man to do, is because he's showing you that he really cares and loves you. He doesn't want to leave unless he lets you know that even though he's upset, he's still committed.
even though we were talking about breaking up an
Yes.
hour before.
Yes.
So, but then I felt an opening after
Mm-hmm.
he gave me the hug, and I thought, "Oh, thank God, we don't have to break up." Even though there's I guess it's my brain, it's my mind that keeps saying, "I should break up. I should break up."
Yes, it's a stress defense. So as you go through stress to happiness, one of the things you do is you're going to get a list of your stress themes. These are the things that always, always, always cause closing. Okay, no matter what. So if I get an unexpected big bill, the first thing that happens is I go into a moment of shock and closing that I can't. I'm not going to be able to pay the bill. I'm always able to pay the bill. It's just my first reaction is I can't pay it. Right. Same with somebody presents me with a bid for something. I almost always have a knee jerk reaction of they're overcharging me. And it's always closing and it's never true. But I got it from my dad because we built 2 houses as a family when we were kids. And that's how my dad responded to people's invoices. And I don't like that response. I want to be like excited to work with people. And I've been changing that. But the first knee jerk reaction, the stress theme, and that's how you start really being able to stay present, is I always close within this situation first. And it's my
Mm,
job to stop and go, okay, what is the opening here, and find the opening. And that's the reprogramming of the neural pathway. So one of the ways, because hardest part about using the internal guidance system is remembering to use it
mhm,
right in the moment. So if you know
right.
your stress themes and you know what always gets you, then you can stop in the moment and go,
Banking.
nope, that's right, banking.
And it never bothered me before, other than
Well,
it was time consuming. But boy, have I, in the last year and a half, I've really um, felt a major closing when banking because of the financial strain that I've been under.
which means what
And
you're thinking is not
it's
true
not
about
true.
money. And yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you know your stress themes, but if you go past your stress themes, if you don't realize that I've hit a theme, Then you go into your stress defenses to protect yourself that we learned when we were younger, between the ages of 0 and 7. And there's a whole list in there in Stress to
Yeah.
Happiness. Go through and be like, what is it that I do? Do I disassociate? Do I just like ignore it and let the bills pile up in a corner in a box and I don't look at them because I can't handle the closing I'm having around finances? I'm not saying that's you. Do I overcommit? Do I cut everything out? Right? Do I like go into Martyrville where your martyr is, okay, I'm gonna get rid of everything that I'm spending any money on and I'm gonna tighten the belt, and now you've got swung way the other way? Is it that you take your toys and go home? Right? Is it that you attack the other person like you when you go into it? Is it that you want to get them out of your life? I don't want to deal with you. They're all listed in there. There's more, I'm sure, but they'll give you an idea. What is it that I do? Because then you know that you've pushed past this place where you were already closed, which means it's not true. Nothing you do after you push through a closing is going to work. It doesn't work because you're actually not dealing with something that's actually true, that's really going to happen, and that is a true thought. So you're just moving forward into something that's false. So when you get to the stress defense, if you then know like, oh, I'm now in my stress defense, that means I need to go back 6 steps and go, what started this? Right? What started this? And then, so it would look, let me just like throw out a possible scenario. Okay. He said he's going to get something done on the house. You're trying to get it rented. He doesn't get it done that day, comes home. You said, did you get it done? Didn't get it done. You don't even want to talk about it because you're so pissed off. You're going to be so upset. You got to get this thing. He understand? Doesn't he respect the fact that I'm having to pay on these things and we need to get it rented, and he didn't get it done again today? That means probably not going to get it done for 3 days. Why am I putting up with this? Blah, 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 blah. Now they're 30 minutes down the road and you are like thinking about breaking up with him. And the stress defense is, I'm going to take my toys and go home and I'm going to break up with him. Right? Then you guys get together and you're already in an attitude and now you're starting a fight. And that reconfirms that you need to break up with him because you're coming to the room as a jerk. He responds to you as a jerk. All of a sudden, it's not going to work. Everything's a mess. I hate you. Get out of my life. You won't say that, but you can feel it. It's emanating off you anywhere. That's where you stop and go, I'm in my stress defense. What happened? He said
Okay.
that he didn't get it done. And my first thought was, I'm never going to get this thing rented. And I closed. That means that's not true. This thing is going to be rented and we're going to be fine. You open back up and you're like, okay, gosh, I wish I could have nipped that in the bud sooner instead of ruining
Yeah.
the last 2 hours of my night. Do you see how it goes?
Yeah.
So that's why it's really important to know your stress themes and your stress defenses so you can get out of the closing and back into the opening much faster.
Like it's like you're a fly on the wall here, because that's kind of what happens.
That's why I'm
Although
doing this coaching, because I've been doing
I've
it a long
gotten
time.
I've gotten better at intercepting myself because of this program in the last, I don't know, 2 months, 2.5 months, probably since I started coaching with you early December.
Yes, of course you have. And you wouldn't be here asking about how to support him out of his closing unless you were able to be stepping outside of your own closing in the moment. And now you're
Yes.
witnessing the other, and so that's another level of using the internal guidance system, is working with people who are closed. And the way that you work with them is by leading them with opening thoughts and respecting where they're at.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what you do.
finding myself being more of an observer, and instead of, when he starts getting frustrated with me and raising his voice, and sometimes he says things that even my mind now is going, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. Like I used to sit there and just, go, no, but now I just sit there quietly observing everything he says. And I'm just going, no, none of this is true. But I don't interrupt, and I don't even show emotion on my face. I just listen like I'm a third party watching a movie. and and that is really cool because it I almost feel like an aha moment. I almost feel like I'm seeing this in a new light, which means new neural pathways are forming. And
Yes, absolutely. And it's different. You're changing. In
and
fact, I think this
yeah.
is one of the only ways that we can truly change is by working with this system that we have in our body. But now the next level would be, instead of sitting there going, that's not true, which is a good step and it's a good level to be at, is to go into, wow, he really believes these things. What can I do to heal this and set it right?
Mhm. That's what I was wondering. What do I do with the information?
Well, that you have to,
So,
that's why I
okay.
can't help you unless I know what he's saying. I can't, like, that's the thing. Like, I can't just willy nilly. I can come up with some scenarios and stuff, but, it's like he's saying that I'm never happy with him and I'll never be happy. And that's not
Uh,
true.
he he
So I'm just
says that
saying,
I'm
yeah,
negative. He says that that my mentality is attracting all this negativity, and he says that um, I'm money centric, even though I don't believe that at all. Like I'm not a material I'm not a material
not about being
person.
that. So let's look at
No.
that and see if there's any, because have you been in the past? Because I have been coaching you now for 2 months and I can tell you you're money centric about these properties.
Oh, interesting. So tell me more to help me understand.
Well, so when you showed up in December, it
Mhm.
was all dire. You were running out of money. You felt like it was bleeding. So, of course, all you're going to be doing is paying attention to the money going out and being negative about it. You've had lots
Mhm.
of people that worked on the property that didn't work out, that wasted
Mhm.
time and money, right? And so, and you
Yes.
were feeling pretty negative, and that is what he was experiencing. Now you've changed, but you have to let him catch up with you.
He says I haven't changed,
Well, it doesn't matter what he says. What I'm saying is
and that's what I tell myself.
you have to let him catch up with the new you. There did come a point where my husband and I was working through a bunch of stuff that legitimately I needed to work through to be a better partner in the marriage. And then it came to a place where I didn't do that thing anymore. And I had to say, I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in over 6 months. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, think about it. I don't do that anymore. And he's like, oh, you're right. And I'm like, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I've changed. I need you to catch up and stop saying that I'm doing this thing that I am not actually doing anymore. And so you have to remember he's experienced this part of you of being really upset about money, being really upset about how bad everything's going, and being looking at dire consequences about what's going to happen, probably talking about losing the properties, probably talking about, that this isn't going to work and coming up. And a lot of times what we'll do is, well, women will go into hysteria, and it's a very unhealthy and unattractive trait. But oftentimes women will start amping up the direness of the situation to try to get the man to act.
Mm.
Like, if I can prove to him that we are going to die, then maybe he'll jump in to save us. But it
Mhm.
never works because he can feel the closing and he can feel that it's not a true thing, and they won't respond to us at all. They'll only respond to us if we're in the opening. If you come to him with
Mm.
something dire and you're open and calm, they're going to get into gear and flip out and hit it, right? Oh no, we got to do this. But if we're in our hysteria, they've learned not to manage it, to just
Mm.
ignore us, which just makes us go into more hysterics. And the more
Mm.
hysterical we get about something because we're afraid and freaked out, the less they respond to us. And it's a horrible self fulfilling prophecy. Now, being a woman and having done this myself, I imagine that you have done that a little bit here and there in massive freak out when you got really scared about the properties and money to him.
Yeah, over a year ago and back in the summer.
Yeah. So you've trained him to, that freaked him out. So there's some rebuilding that needs to happen. And you have now begun a path where you're changing and you can actually legitimately change to the place where you can heal this because you are becoming a different person. And it's going to
Okay.
take a little bit of time. Okay. Have some patience. Or relationships, I would give it 5 months and expect it's going to be rocky, but better over and over time, over those 5 months. As you get closer to the end of the 5 months, it's going to be rocky here and there, but with your openings, you'll be able to heal this and be back on track and communicating well. And he'll be able to respect and witness the person that you've become. This is going to take a little bit of time. There's been some damage on both sides. You'd have some healing too. All right.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
just to be like, yeah, okay, he's upset. We went through a lot. It's going to be a little bit before he doesn't react that way to me.
I think I'm blown away because he's never been um sensing the danger that I'm sensing, and I'm like it has shocked me that he's
That's
not
because,
panicking.
well, because panic is closing, which means all the danger that you've been flipping out about is not true and not going to happen. If it was, you would be open. He's open that it's going to be fine. And so are you when you actually analyzed it from the place of your internal guidance system.
So
So,
yesterday,
wait,
I
did you can you
emailed. Oh,
wait. I
okay,
want you to
okay.
recognize that fact that all of your danger was closing. And he, when he held that thought, wasn't true for him. And as he's sitting there going, it's going to be fine, he's open. And when you got to the place of being in alignment with everything is going to work out, we can't see it in this moment, but it is, you opened too. So instead of being, I can't believe he's not seen the danger, you said, darn it, I wish I would have been in alignment with his openings that it's going to be fine the whole time and I wasn't torturing myself.
Yeah, I do
You
wish I
see the
hadn't tortured
difference?
myself. Yeah,
So you see the difference? Yeah. So let's not put it on him that he doesn't see the danger, but instead own that I was in closing and didn't know what closing meant.
that's true.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So we're going to do a little bit more, and then I'm going to talk about some of the stuff we've been doing. So what's the next thing? You said you got an email.
We're trying to get a second mortgage on uh, one of the two properties, and our broker, he like I sent him the bank statements, and he said you didn't. There's not enough rent for January that was deposited, and February, and so granted, I currently have one tenant out of five in that property because one of them died a week and a half ago,
Mm-hmm.
and the other moved out mid-December. And so now I'm down to one as opposed to three tenants.
Is there a
And
coaching thing in this? I just want to know what coaching wise. I got
um,
the stats, but where's the coaching piece where you need support?
I'm thinking, will I be declined um, the second mortgage, or will I be accepted? And last night I was sort of getting an opening as to being accepted, but um, but I don't trust it yet. I
So I
don't
can't.
trust
So
it
here's
yet.
the thing. We already, but you got the opening. So, and you've been following it, and trust takes time. That's not something, as far as coaching goes, you already got your answer. And as you go through, mistrust is closing. And even if it's not accepted right now, that doesn't mean this is the only bank and the only acceptance that is out there, right? You just get some more tenants and try again, right? But the thing is that you got the opening, it didn't close you, and trust takes time. And part of using the IGS is when those mistrustful thoughts show up, they close you. And that pushes you right back into the opening because you're like, no, it closes me. Then I'm not going to end up getting a second on this in this situation. It may not be with that bank, and maybe with that bank, but getting the second is what getting approved and getting the money in is what opens you. And you've been open on that for 2 calls. Whenever you discuss the second and being able to give you the run rate that you need to pull yourself into a place where it's all done and you've got the tenants filled again. And it opens you to keep the property. So everything, you have to look at the whole thing, not be myopic in the one closing where it's like, oh, I don't trust that I'm really going to get it. I can't help you with that because that's you working with your own brain. And you have to be the one that's inside says when you feel the closing, when you don't trust, to say that's closing. So that means that this is a solution for me to continue to pursue. Do you see what I'm
Okay.
saying? You have to be in
Yeah.
control of that. That's where we take control of our own thinking. And it's very cool because you'll get an opening, and when your brain goes, yeah, but it'll close you. Yeah, but will close you. And it's like that thought closed me, so I'm not going with that thought. And it takes like literally, and you're going to hear me say this over and over. And if you go back, the thing you could do now is go through the archived calls. There's over 350. I think there's probably like 500 now because I've been saying there's over 350 for 4 years. Calls in there, listen to other people. You're going to hear it over and over again. And that's the thing that you need to reinforce it, is watching other people go from a closing to an opening and a closing to the opening. And you'll see it. You'll be able to watch them go, yeah, but, and then they're closed, go back to the opening. And then on the next call, you'll hear that their situation worked out. Over and over and over, you will see that there's nobody in there who comes on the call once, not once, and says, this didn't work for me. Never.
Nice.
In all these years, 8 years now, nobody. So that's what you need. You have to build that. This takes time, and your mind's always going to want to convince you that it's right. But your IGS, it's the thing to listen to, because it is connected to something outside of your mind that knows what is best for you and is leading you there and is consistent in its guidance.
Why does our mind work against our better, like our well-being, frankly? Why
It
does it
doesn't.
do that?
It doesn't. It's a software system that's collected a lot of data along the way, and its job is to keep you loved and safe. And the only thing it can do that is based on historical evidence. That's it. And so, historically, running out of money has been painful and scary. And so it is simply sitting there with its historical evidence, giving you thinking, don't run out of money. Don't run out of money. If we run out of money, it's going to be bad. We run out of money, everything's over. We run out of money, it's over. And you have to be like, and if you're closed, it's like, that's not true. Relax. I'm going to go with what's in the present moment that I know to be true. And that is in your IGS. They work in combination, but your mind's not bad. Remember, it's like a puppy in a box. Its job is to warn you. Its job is to project into the future. Its job is to kind of scan the horizon for danger, but it doesn't have the information it needs. That's all. It's not trying to work against you. It just doesn't have any information that's relevant, present, and future, because it can't see that. But it's a very interesting thing that our IGS knows things that we don't know. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I believe it's the Holy Spirit that's spoken of in the Bible. And there's lots of other references in different ways and shapes and all kinds of different philosophies and wisdom traditions. It's connected. There's a part of us that's connected to something deeper, and it knows. That's why it's so important for every human on the planet to get to know it, because we can no longer manage this ship called planet Earth from past data.
I agree.
It has to be current data, together, all of us using it to move forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So it's really just about going back and forth. Like, you get your opening, and then your mind tries to talk you out of the opening, and you close. Your IGS closes, going, don't listen to it. It doesn't know what it's talking about. And you'll go back to the thought, and it'll open you, and you stay there. And it is a struggle in the beginning a little bit. You'll hear people on the coaching calls be like, I have to say 6 times. No, I'm not going to think that thought that closes me. And eventually it gets easier and easier, and you stop caring. You just don't listen. It's like literally like, okay, yeah, mine. And you just keep going with flow. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm reaching the point. I'm almost, I don't want to hold you up. I think I'm reaching the point where I'm going, I'm not paying attention to the IGS anymore. I'm just going, that thought is irrelevant. That thought is wrong, and I'm not even going to pay attention to it. And is that correct? Like, is that the right way to address the flow, to be in flow? Because I'm still trying to grasp the full concept of flow. And
So flow is, no, that's not flow. It will help you get into flow, but you are paying attention to the IGS, because as the thought comes up that is irrelevant and you're not going to listen to it, you learn that from noticing what the IGS is doing, right? So you are still paying attention to it. Flow is when you actually sit consciously in your listening, and you wait for the movement of the next thing to do. It's an active state of moving through the world, from the next right thing to the next right thing to the next right thing. And the next right thing is being determined by the opening and the pull that comes from within the internal guidance system that's moving you with the internal guidance system. And it comes to a place where that energy that's pulling you starts to align with your thinking. And you can feel that your mind and your internal guidance system are in combination. They're working in tandem together to organize the way your day goes.
Right on. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You are welcome. I'm glad. And then send me another email and I'll answer your question,
Yes.
or we'll figure out what's going on with the Zoom. It's not really for these calls. Okay. All
Got
right.
it.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Sky.
then.
You're
Take care.
welcome. Yeah.
Bye.
All right. So the most important thing that, and if you have questions in the comments, for those of you who are watching, please, I've got the chat open. You're more than welcome to ask questions. I know that a couple of times people are able to do that. If you want to be a part of these calls, it's simply a coaching subscription. It's a membership at befearfreenow.com. There's a $47 and a $97, depending on how much course levels you want to go into and how active you want to be in the coaching, or whether you want to be in more of a smaller group setting with me. That's the difference between the two prices. You can see those on the page, befearfreenow.com. Also, there's a free membership that you can do. It'll give you, we have a 14-day quick start program called the Fear Free Mind Experience. It's amazing. It gives you a ton of tools to begin using your IGS, and you get the coaching with that. It'll give you the first 4 days of that, so you can try out using your IGS for yourself and get into the community, and you're welcome to stay in at the free level. That free level does not give you the access to the coaching per se, but you do have discussion group. You have the Zen in a Moments, which are a mini pod that I do on this. And then you also have our monthly mini masterclass that I do, which comes out monthly, and you'll be able to participate in the discussion group with other people and ask your questions there about the internal guidance system. And so there's all kinds of options on that page, befearfreenow.com. And then also subscribe here and hit the notification bell. So that way, if you want to, you can be able to come and watch, and you're also welcome to, I will do as many questions in the chat as I possibly can during these YouTube and programs. We're also on LinkedIn, we're on Rumble, we're on Instagram, we're on Spotify now, and X, and so and Facebook as well. So there's all kinds of places. I think YouTube's the best place to watch it right now because it's the most consistent. But I'd love to have you and be able to participate through coaching. The thing that I want you to understand about the internal guidance system, more than anything else, is that it's counterintuitive. We've been raised, when you're throughout our upbringing, that if there's something outside of ourselves that makes us feel bad, there's something outside of ourselves that hurts our feelings. It's not the way it works. And it's kind of hard to explain because it feels so real that no, that person said something that hurt me, but it's your interpretation of the thing that was said that creates the closing. Okay. And not only that, is that our internal guidance system, this sensation I'm talking about, the lump in the throat, the tightness, like uncomfortable pressure feeling in the chest, and then the solar plexus, it's not your emotions. There's a program inside of the Fear Free Human Collective called Emotional Authenticity, because our emotions are programmed. We watch how people react, our mom, our dad, our grandma, other people in our lives. We watch how they react, even our teachers when we were little, right? Caregivers. And then we emulate the way they react. Okay. So a lot of even your emotional experience is not true. I know that sounds amazing because our emotions seem so real. It's like, no, that is how I feel. I can tell you right now that you will find, when you start studying the internal guidance system, that you'll be like, I'm so mad. And you're like, are you open? No, you're closed. I'm not mad. Well, what am I? I'm hurt. And that's what will open you. There's a recalibrating of your emotions to be exactly what you and your personality feels. There's a recalibrating of the way that you assess the world around you, and a reforming of the stories that your mind makes that are opening. They become opening. They become true. They aren't stories that are false. Our pain in life comes from the false stories that our mind has collected and are repurposing and propagating into our current life and our future. There isn't anything outside of yourself that causes you pain. It's in the way that you're thinking. And until you've gotten to a place where your emotions are actually authentically what you feel, even then, unpleasant emotions aren't necessarily painful. They're rich because they're opening and emotion. You feel open inside, and there's a purity and a preciousness to that emotional experience that is truly what you're here to experience as a human being, versus the false emotional experience where you're closed down and you're tight and you're reacting. And that's where the uncomfortable, that's where the suffering comes from, is being closed in an emotional state. Okay. And so once you understand that and something comes in that triggers you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, upset, frustrated, irritated, impatient, defensive, right? These things start coming in, mistrust, doubt, all of these various things that are uncomfortable and really unhappy to be sitting with. Once you begin to realize that, wait, it's the way I'm thinking about what just happened. And when you're closed and you're in suffering, it means what you're thinking in that moment isn't true. You've got the wrong story going. And all of the practices that I teach you how to get into the place where you've got an opening and you understand that you've actually hit upon what is actually true. Now, I'm not going to go back and forth about true and truth. That's something that I kind of avoid because it's a big old landmine. There's all kinds of belief systems about it out there. And I don't really feel like I have to, because as soon as you begin recalibrating your own thinking into openings, then you can assess for yourself what truth is. That's something that each individual needs to do for themselves. I'm not talking about people having their individual truth. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being able to feel in your body an opening, and there's a discernment and a wisdom there. That is the truth. And that's something you have to discover for yourself. All right. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate you watching the show. Please spread the word about this. This is super helpful stuff. It's super fun. And I love that you were here and you were watching. I feel very honored that I get to do this work and that I get to teach people how to use their internal guidance system. So I look forward to more. And thank you for being here. And I will be here tomorrow, Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard